in the new book on Trump that everybody is talking about, Fire and Fury, there's this little gem that I wanted to share with you. This is from the Hill. Wolf Book. Trump privately floated Medicare for all. What? So actually, this isn't the most surprising thing because before he was a candidate, he floated Medicare for all in multiple interviews, like 5 or 6 times. In fact, we covered the story and gave you the exact quotes in multiple magazines and newspapers and on TV shows throughout the years. He said Medicare for all is the way to go. But it's only when he decided to run for president and he ran as a Republican, all of a sudden it was, hey, let's bash Obamacare at every second and let's say Medicare for all is not the way to go. But let me read you what the passage says and then we'll discuss. So it says, all things considered, this is from the book, all things considered, Trump probably preferred the notion of more people having health insurance than fewer people having it. He was, even when push came to shove, rather more for Obamacare than for repealing it. As well, he had made a set of rash Obama-like promises, going so far as to say that under a forthcoming Trump care plan, no one would lose their health insurance and that pre-existing conditions would continue to be covered. In fact, he probably favored government-funded health care more than any other Republican. Quote, this is in the book, they're quoting Trump. Why can't Medicare simply cover everybody? He had impatiently wondered aloud during one discussion with aides, all of whom were careful not to react to this heresy. The details of the contested legislation were, to him, particularly boring. His attention would begin wandering from the first words of a policy discussion. He would have been able to enumerate few of the particulars of Obamacare other than expressing glee about the silly Obama pledge that everyone could keep his or her doctor. And he certainly could not make any kind of meaningful distinction, positive or negative, between the healthcare system before Obamacare and the one after. So, there's a few things to take away from this. First of all, that was his gut reaction was like, I don't get it. Why can't Medicare cover everybody? Unbelievable. We should just do that. Tremendous. Which is a good thing. Now, I don't think Donald Trump knows. In fact, I know he doesn't know exactly why it is that Medicare for all, a single-payer system, is much better than any other system. I do know that he knows anecdotes. That's how a man like Trump thinks. He's not very sophisticated. He's not very complex. So what you do is you give him anecdotes, and he's like, that's it. Anecdotes, that's of course the dumbest form of learning because, hey, here's one example that proves my point. Oh, I guess that's true in the overwhelming majority of cases. Well, no, not necessarily. It just happens to be the case that that's true, empirically true, for single payer. But I remember I think he was on David Letterman's show, and he described how a friend of his was in Scotland, got hurt, went to the doctor, got it fixed. When he left, he went to go pay his bill, and they were like, what do you mean? There is no bill. Get out of here. And Trump heard that, and he was amazed by it. He's like, whoa, what? So you get sick, you get help, and there's no bill? That's unbelievable. Tremendous. Let me just tell you, we should have that here. We should have that here. So that, to him, it's like, that's it. Game, set, match. Now, again, that's not, that. So he's not familiar with, more detailed reasons, nuanced reasons as to why we should have a Medicare for all system, like everybody's covered and they, usually Medicare for all systems pay about half what we pay per capita for health coverage or for health care, and everybody's covered. Like, he can't give you that. He can't, he probably can't even explain to you exactly how it works, how you pay taxes and then the taxes go to pay for the health care. Like, single payer means it's a single insurer, the insurer being the government. That's what single payer means. The government, they're the ones who pay for the health care. So it's like the government is your insurance company and you pay, your taxes go. He probably can't even explain that. He certainly can't tell you the list of the Commonwealth Fund and when they did their study and they found the U.S. is the worst of all the modern nations in terms of our healthcare system. So he's not a deep thinker. So it's just like an anecdote that led him to that conclusion. But that gut instinct was right of his in this case. But then the other thing that we learned here is he's incapable of those complex thoughts to come to a conclusion and then to have principles and convictions and say, no, this is what we're doing and that's the end of it. Because they go on to explain in the book how Paul Ryan was like, oh, no, Mr. President, that's not a good idea, but what we can do is we can repeal and replace Obamacare. So in other words, the rhetoric was just repeal, 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 but then Paul Ryan was like, how do I convince Trump? I know, let me make a short little pithy saying that he'll fall for. Mr. President, we should repeal and replace. And Trump's eyes light up and he's like, yeah, let's do that. Unbelievable. Let's do it. And then whenever they try to go into details with him about the policies, he's like, it wasn't crazy when Obama said everybody could keep their doctor and they couldn't? Sad. People are like, why are you fucking... He's thinking in sound bites. He's thinking in like Fox News sound bites because that's literally what he's doing. But he can't follow the complex policy discussions. But bottom line is, he fell for the first person in the room who whispered an opinion that was the opposite opinion in a way that was simple. He was like, sure, let's do that. And this is what when you have a politician, when you have a person, forget politician, a person with no convictions and no principles, and they don't believe anything, then they're a vapid moron. He's just an empty vessel. He's vacuous, and you could superimpose on him whatever you want if you have an actual agenda. And I think that's what we're seeing with Donald Trump. I don't think he believes anything. I think he's just a morbid narcissist of the highest order. And so anybody who says, oh, Mr. President, we should do this, he's like, yeah, let's do that. Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything, and he thinks the people around him are, they're the super duper experts who are always like, oh, Paul Ryan, he's smart. He talks about budgets and shit, so he must be right. Anyway, let's go with what he said. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. So this is an instance where his gut was correct. He was talked down from that position like that. And you know what this reminded me of? The pharmaceutical companies. So Trump was saying on the campaign trail, we got to lower the cost of the pharmaceutical pills. We got to do it. We got to lower the cost of medicine. It's unbelievable how people are getting screwed by big pharma in this country. Sad. And so, Trump gets elected. Bernie Sanders goes, great, Mr. President. I agree with everything you said on the campaign trail. Here's an amendment to a bill that makes it so that we can negotiate for lower drug prices with Medicare. We can't do it right now. Medicare is not allowed to negotiate for lower drug prices with the pharmaceutical companies. So come on, let's allow them to do that. And Trump's like, yeah, let's do that. One meeting with the lobbyist, a pharma lobbyist. He walks out of there going, no, we shouldn't do that. Now, why? Because the pharma lobbyist convinced him, hey man, no, see, we need to make money that way because we don't make money when we sell our our drugs to other countries. They get a lower cost, so we need to jack up the price of the drugs in the U.S. to make any profit in the first place. That's a bullshit line, and of course the taxpayers do the research and development for the drugs in the first place, so they should consider themselves lucky they can even exist, where they take what tax dollars created and then sell it back to taxpayers at a price gouging cost. So what they're saying is bullshit, but Trump was like, I don't know, good reason enough. Sorry, we can't negotiate for lower drug prices. Because he's a fucking idiot. Because he's an idiot. He's incompetent. He's not intelligent. He can't think in a complex way. He can't connect dots. Last person in the room who says something mildly convincing, he's like, wonderful, agreed, sad, let's do that. So this is what we learn, man. This is what happens when you elect a vapid person who doesn't believe anything. Is even if his instinct is right, he's not going to stick by it. He's not going to know the counter arguments when Paul Ryan starts arguing for a totally free market system. So that's where we're at today. That's where we're at. We have a president who's shitting the bed. Even when his instincts are right, he's eventually talked away from that because he's surrounded by the establishment, and they easily talk him into the establishment position.